A black man was just relaxing by his own pool until two cops showed up, called for backup, and tried to take it all from him. But what happened next, no one saw coming. Brandon leaned back in the lounge chair beside the pool, eyes closed, the soft rhythm of music playing through his earbuds. The water shimmered. The air was warm. For the first time in days, his mind was still. No meetings, no noise, no stress, just peace. Then, bang, bang. A loud knock rattled the side gate. Brandon's eyes snapped open. The music in his ears went silent. "Open up. Police," a voice shouted. Another voice followed, sharper. "We need to speak to the homeowner. Now." Brandon sat up, confused. His heart gave a hard thump. He stood slowly, pulled out his earbuds, and walked toward the gate. Through the bars, he saw two officers, one tall, one stocky, both with tense faces and hands resting too close to their belts. He unlocked the gate. "Can I help you?" he asked, calmly. The taller cop frowned. "We got a call. Suspicious person in the backyard. We need ID." And step away from the gate. Brandon blinked. "Suspicious. I live here. This is my home." "ID," the shorter one snapped, eyes scanning the yard like he expected someone to jump out. Brandon raised his hand slowly and took a step back. "Sure, my wallet's right over there. I can grab it." "Don't move too fast," the tall one said. "Keep your hands where we can see them." A strange chill crawled up Brandon's neck. His pulse sped up, but he forced a smile, nodding. He walked over to the small table, picked up his wallet, and handed them his license. The cop stared at it, then at him, then back at the license. "This address is here," the short cop said slowly, "but you got any proof this isn't fake?" Brandon raised an eyebrow. "It's not fake. That's me. That's my name. That's my house." The tall one stepped aside and spoke into his radio. "Requesting backup. Suspect is uncooperative." This isn't just one man's story. It's what happens in neighborhoods like yours, every single day. Stay with us. Listen closely. Because the way Brandon kept his cool could save someone's life, maybe even yours. And if this story moves you, if it makes you think, makes you feel, hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe. We need more eyes open, more voices loud, more truth shared. Brandon's stomach dropped. "Uncooperative," he repeated. "I gave you what you asked for." Neither officer answered. The neighborhood was waking up. Brandon could feel it. Curtains shifted. Doors creaked open. Somebody whispered, "That's the new guy. I think he moved in last month." Brandon took a deep breath. He wanted to shout, to scream, to demand respect. But he didn't. He'd been here before. Not here, at this pool, but in this moment, where a wrong move could change your life. So he stayed still. But inside, his thoughts screamed. They didn't see a man relaxing. They saw a threat. Even though he was doing nothing wrong, they made him feel like he was. Even though this was his pool, his home, his peace, they treated him like a stranger. And that's when it hit him. This wasn't confusion. This was something colder, deeper, older. This wasn't a mistake. It was something worse. The sun beat down on Brandon's skin, but the words from the cops felt colder than ice. "This doesn't feel right." The tall cop stared at Brandon's face like he was trying to solve a puzzle that refused to make sense. Brandon stayed still, heart pounding. He reached slowly into the pocket of his swim shorts and held up his pool key. His name was printed right on it, just like his license. "Here's the key," he said. "It opens the side gate. You can try it yourself." He kept his voice level, steady, not too loud, not too soft, just careful. But it didn't matter. The shorter cop stepped forward. His hand dropped closer to his taser. "Keep your hands where I can see them," he snapped. Brandon's breath hitched. He raised both hands again. slowly, deliberately. "I'm not a threat," he said, trying to keep the fear from his voice. "I'm just trying to enjoy my day." The tall cop squinted at him. "You seem real calm for someone being questioned." Brandon almost laughed. The kind of laugh that doesn't feel funny. He was calm because if he wasn't, he'd already be on the ground. Every muscle in his body was tight. His fists curled without thinking. His jaw clenched, his vision blurred for half a second. His body wanted to fight, to shout, to demand respect. But his mind pulled him back. He knew what happened to black men who got angry. He knew what a taser could do. He knew one wrong word, one sudden move, and this story could end with a headline. So he took a breath. And then, something clicked. He turned the situation around. "You got a name, officer?" he asked, steady as stone. The shorter one blinked. "Excuse me?" "Your name," Brandon repeated. "And badge number, since you're here on my property accusing me of a crime I didn't commit." The taller cop shifted. "Why do you need that?" Brandon stared him down. "For my records, in case I need to explain this to a lawyer." Silence. "You got a bodycam?" Brandon asked, looking at the badge. "Is it on?" The short cop said nothing. Then Brandon asked again, not loud, not rude, but with force. "Is it on?" The taller one nodded slowly. "It's on." Brandon stepped closer to the gate, just enough so his voice would be clear on the recording. "I've told you who I am. I've shown you proof. You've got no reason to be here anymore. So unless I'm being detained, I'd like you to leave." The shorter cop's lips parted like he wanted to argue, but then he paused. This wasn't going the way they expected. They had shown up expecting fear, maybe anger, maybe someone who'd lose control. But Brandon wasn't losing control. He was taking it. And now, they were the ones sweating. In the silence, the air seemed to shift. Brandon had flipped the script, and the story was just getting started. Brandon didn't rush. He didn't yell. He didn't fold. He turned around, walked through the side door into his house, and came back out less than a minute later. In his hands, a folder with paperwork, crisp, clean, undeniable. He placed it on the table near the pool and opened it. "This is the property deed," he said clearly. "My name, my signature. This house was bought last summer." He flipped the page. "This is the security footage from this morning. Me unlocking the gate, me bringing out the lounge chair, me putting on sunscreen, me doing absolutely nothing wrong." The shorter cop looked away. The taller one bit his lip. But Brandon wasn't done. From the porch, a voice rang out. "Dad, what's going on?" "Tree." Brandon turned slightly. His teenage son stood on the steps, phone in hand, camera facing forward. "I'm recording, Dad. I've been live since they first showed up." Brandon didn't say a word. He just nodded. Trey kept filming, the red light on the phone glowing like a warning. On screen, the chat exploded. "This is disgusting. Protect this man. Call their supervisor. We're watching, Brandon." The cops heard it. They saw it. They had gone from in control to exposed in real time. Then, footsteps from the sidewalk. A woman stormed into view, short gray hair bouncing with every step. Her face was tight with rage. She didn't look at Brandon. She looked straight at the officers. "What are you two doing?" They hesitated. She stepped between them and Brandon, arms folded. "I'm the one who sold him this house," she said. "You know how long I waited to find a buyer like him. Someone respectful, smart, quiet." She turned, eyes blazing. "And this is how you treat him?" Neither officer answered. She pointed to the live streaming phone. "You're on camera. You've been on camera. And guess what? So am I. I'll back every word he says." The taller cop swallowed hard. The shorter one looked at the ground. Trey zoomed in. The internet watched two officers lose their grip, not just on a situation, but on their image. And Brandon, calm, firm, unshaken, stood in the center of it all. He looked at the officers, looked at the phone, then looked straight into the taller one's eyes. "Now let's talk about your badge numbers." The silence was sharp. No sirens, no more orders, just truth, laid bare for everyone to see. The balance had flipped. The hunted had become the witness. The accused had become the accuser. And the whole world was watching it happen. By nightfall, the video had already spread across the internet like wildfire. Clips of Brandon calmly standing his ground, the officers fumbling. Tree's voice behind the camera, clear and steady. The neighbor's righteous fury. It hit a nerve, a deep one. By the next morning, it was on every news feed. Hashtag poolside profiling. Hashtag justice for Brandon. Hashtag know your rights. Celebrities reposted it. Civil rights lawyers reached out. Activists called for change. The police department, silent for 48 hours. Then came the press conference. The police chief stood behind a podium, face stiff. He didn't look at the cameras when he said the words. "We deeply regret the incident that occurred at Mr. Brandon Carter's home. An internal investigation is underway." But Brandon didn't wait for apologies. He wasn't interested in words. He filed a lawsuit. Unlawful harassment, racial profiling, emotional trauma. The case moved fast. There was no defense strong enough for what the world had seen. He won. It wasn't just about the money, though the settlement was big. It was about setting a line in the sand, making sure they knew, you don't get to do this, and walk away clean. But that was just the beginning. Brandon took the money and started something powerful, a legal fund for people who had been harassed, profiled, or mistreated by police just for being who they are. He called it the Stand Project. The fund paid for lawyers. It paid for court costs. It didn't just react, it educated. He held free workshops in schools and community centers. Know your rights, he told rooms full of kids who looked like Trey. Stay calm, stay smart, record everything. And never forget, this is your country, too. Trey stood beside him at every event, no longer just a bystander with a phone. Now he spoke too, confident, clear, proud. And something else happened. Cops started recognizing Brandon. Not just on the news, but in real life, on the street, at traffic lights. They looked away first now, because Brandon had become something they didn't expect. A symbol, a spotlight, a mirror. So when another man, a teacher, got pulled over without cause, when a woman was followed through a store for looking suspicious, when a boy was grabbed just for walking home too late, Brandon showed up, not with yelling, not with threats, but with a suit, a folder of documents, and a camera crew. He didn't carry anger. He carried truth. And now, for the first time, they were the ones afraid to be on camera. They were the ones wondering what would happen next. They were the ones whose hands started to shake. Because the world had changed, and Brandon Carter had helped change it. Now it's your turn. What would you have done in Brandon's shoes? What do you think needs to change? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters. And if this story made your heart race, made you angry, made you hope, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone you care about. Because the more we see it, the more we feel it, and the harder it is to ignore.